Recording in progress.
There happened to be a error in the slide there on the start time for sure, so we'll fix that for next week. I'm glad to have you all here today. So today we're going to, we're privileged to have Locke Alderson also with us to talk about how to rekindle our job search. So we're looking forward to Locke talking. Just a reminder to those that Jeff Morris is the founder of this group. This is his normal slide that he uses to introduce himself. Jeff suffered a fall and a brain injury, and he was recouping and recovering. So we hope he'll come back soon. He's in that process. So glad to have Jeff and all of his material and all of his groundwork that he's laid so that we can pick this up and continue it on. So right now, Matt Keelan and I have volunteered to help with hosting and leading this group in the meantime. So our agenda today is success stories, 30-second introductions, our committee reports, the creative tip of the week, the interview success workshop, the group, and then the main event. So any success stories out there? Anybody got some good news for us? How about interviews? Anybody have any interviews this week that we could talk about? Okay, hang on.
I'm Kimberly Hall, and I'm transitioning from education, and I have an interview on Tuesday with the CPA firm in Addison. And shout out to Bob Ernst who let me know about that and gave him a call. And I'm excited. Yeah.
Right.
Am I forgetting something?
No.
Maybe it might be a little intro on.
No problem. So anybody else? Anybody online? Okay, the donuts on the right are the favorite donuts. If you bring, you get extra credit for Krispy Kreme donuts. You know, back when we had, I don't know, 60, 50 people meeting in these groups, there's been times when we've had 3 or 4 landings and we had donuts galore, which meant I got to take a box home. So let's do our 30-second introduction.
They're actually good 3 days later.
Yeah, here's the word on at least Krispy Kreme donuts. Okay, 1 day later, 6 seconds. 2 days later, 8 seconds. Going up to 6 days later, 12 seconds. Okay, I'm a practitioner. All right. So we'll do our 30-second introduction. So in the chat box, if you open that up for you, put in your name. I strongly suggest you put in your LinkedIn address, as well as your email, your phone, the type of job, the position that you're looking for, and 2 or 3 target companies, and then hit the return. Second. See if that's working. Okay, you can continue doing that, but we'd like to introduce the people that are in the room. So we'd like to come up to this computer, use this microphone, and here's an outline that you can follow, which is your name, exactly what you're looking for. What is it that you can provide help for? What is your main thing? For mine, for example, I help build skills and confidence for successful hiring interviews with an interview workshop that I'll talk about in a little while. 2 or 3 target companies that you have. So looking for contacts, connections into those companies. And then are there companies where you have connections and contacts and can help others? So who wants to start?
Last week we were doing for
It scares my friends though, when people give me a microphone, because they're like, she's never gonna shut up. I'm Kimberly Ball. I do accounting. I've been a teacher, but, I have a BBA in accounting, so I want to use that now. And I have a lot of contacts in education. And sometimes if I hear the name of a corporation, I go, oh, wait a second, I do know somebody who works there, but, and I've been targeting, KPMG, Deloitte, and Southwest Airlines. So if anybody has anything there, that'd be great. And my name again is Kimberly Ball.
That was my sister from another mister. My name is Jayma Ball. I'm an operations leader specializing in service delivery or product implementation. I help transform organizational chaos into order. I'm in contacts this week at Airbnb, OneSource Virtual, and Tipalti. I have contacts in the hospitality industry. My name is Jayma Ball.
Hi, my name is William Evangelista. I'm a project manager. I find solutions by streamlining processes. I'm looking for contacts in telecom or educational, like higher education. Once again, my name is William Evangelista.
My name is Amr Mansour. I implement projects and programs that bring business solutions. I am looking for a program director or a project director role. I have contacts in the insurance industry, some in property and casualty, and some in healthcare. And right now, I don't have anything no irons in the fire, so I don't have any target companies, but my name is Amr Mansour.
Good morning, Matt Keelan. I'm an IT VP or director. I help companies manage their IT dollars wisely, and I keep hackers out. I am covered with respect to contacts needed, thanks to Jayma Ball. Thank you very much. And I can help you with Grant Thornton or Cherry Vector. Again, Matt Keelan. People online. All right. For those online, Brian Jerome, want to introduce yourself?
It's Brian Jerome, recently laid off, a supply chain specialist focusing in the scheduling and planning of manufacturing. Looking for any contacts in the aerospace fields, Brian Jerome.
Thank you, Brian. Scott? Scott Boudreau? How about Steve Rowan?
Hi, I'm Steve Rowan, and I'm retired now, but I keep coming to this meeting because there's so many good things to learn here. So my name is Steve Rowan.
Thank you, Steve. And Scott is now switching computers. He can't get unmuted. So we'll come back in a minute. Vitaly?
Hello, my name is Vitaly Platonov. I'm supply chain manager for automotive company Hyundai in Ukraine. I arrange incoming supplies from several countries. I would prefer to do to stay in this area because I believe I most effective in supply chain in logistics automotive. Still, it can be applied for huge variety of manufacturing companies and trade, especially international trade, because I have multicultural experience with international companies like Kia and Hyundai. I'm a leader of small group. I need contacts of Toyota, which has headquarters at Plano. Actually, any company will do, but headquarters can accommodate a professional of my level to arrange flows of vehicles. Not okay. Thank you. Thank you again, Vitaly Platonov. Unfortunately, I don't really have contacts which I can offer yet. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for attending. Dion. Oh, Dion is at work, so he can't use his mic. Dustin.
Hey, good morning, everyone. I'm Dustin Williams. I'm a CDN engineer and product owner. I lead teams specializing in building, supporting, and securing your websites. I'm looking for contacts in American Airlines. Other than that, I am Dustin Williams.
Thank you, Dustin. Jennifer Cox.
Yes, my name is Jennifer Cox. I am currently in caregiving, and I'm looking for a position in sociology, psychology fields, and to eventually become a counselor in grief sessions to help people with their grief and to move forward in their lives. My name is Jennifer Cox.
Thank you, Jennifer. Michael.
Good morning, I'm Michael Cruz. I am a corporate financial planning and analysis professional, most recently a finance director. My background is budgeting, forecasting, reporting, capital investments, typical big company financial planning analysis background. I am looking for contacts at a company called Altail Global, Altail Global. They're headquartered in Frisco, Texas. And also I'm looking for contacts at Amazon. I spent quite a bit of time at Globe Life in McKinney, Texas, so I have a lot of contacts up there if anybody's interested in that organization. I'm Michael Cruz.
Thanks, Michael. James Andre. James, you're on mute there. Rhonda.
Good morning. I'm Rhonda Sellers. Excuse me. I'm a construction specifications writer for architects. I write and edit architectural specifications, coordinate the specs and drawings, collaborate with the architects and manufacturers reps, and research technical information. I'm currently targeting firms via informational interviews. I'm Rhonda Sellers.
Thanks, Rhonda. Rosina.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Rosina Gallman, and I am your Career Tip of the Week host, which I'll talk to you in a few more minutes. I am a senior talent acquisition consultant / senior recruiter, and I help companies find the right talent to fill their open roles. I need contacts at Delta Dental, MetLife, and Cigna, yet I am open to other industry possibilities, and I've worked across a variety of different industries. So I have contacts at a variety of companies, and I'll provide those to the people that I hear with the companies that I have contacts in. Again, I'm Rosina Gallman.
Thanks, Rosina. Stefan.
Yeah, I'm Stefan Hirsch. I just recently took a package from kind of a VSP package from our company. So I am recently basically off work, and I have been a bid manager, pricing manager, proposal manager for various telecom companies over the last 20 plus years. And I'm looking for a new exciting opportunity in either telecom area, or I'm even open to areas outside of telecom for inside sales, bid management, proposals, pricing, commercial pricing, anything like this. So again, my name is Stefan.
Steve Rowan.
You already did it.
Oh, Will Paddock.
Hi, this is Will Puddick. I'm from Fort Worth. I'm an experienced senior manufacturing engineer in automotive industry, driving quality improvements for leading manufacturers like Tesla and GM. Currently looking for new positions in DFW or the Austin area. I like automotive, but I can transition my abilities to aerospace or defense, targeting Toyota, Bakar, Lockheed, or Bell. I'm Will Puttick.
Thank you, Will. And getting back to Scott. Scott, did you find the new button?
I gotta go.
All right. Do we miss anybody online?
Okay, we have one more person join, one of our door watchers to let people in since the door closed on Fridays at church. So if you come up and introduce yourself.
Hey, my name is Brian Scalaro. I'm an implementation consultant. I help implement software solutions for different companies. The industry that I'm trying to get into is the travel industry. So maybe like American Airlines, Hyatt, Hilton, that type of thing. I have contacts at Consolidated Electrical Distributors and RealPage. Again, my name is Brian Scalaro.
Thank you, Brian. Anybody else that we missed? Last call. Okay, let's move on. So Rosina, it's time for our career tip of the week.
All right, well, thank you, gentlemen. Give me just a second to switch over. All right. Again, good morning, everybody. I'm Rosina Gallman. Like I said, I am your Career Tip of the Week host. And this week's Career Tip of the Week is an article on 15 expert job interview tips to get hired faster in 2024. It's really just a reminder. And so these are things you're already doing, I'm sure. This article is by Brian Robinson on Forbes, and it provides comprehensive advice for job seekers to excel in interviews. The tips sourced from these career experts and recruitment professionals are categorized into 3 stages: before, during, and after the interview. Just as a reminder, you are going to be getting a copy of this full article when Matt sends out the email this afternoon with all of our information, contact information, and things like that, and you'll get the article as well. So as I get ready to start, this article does reference CV quite a bit. Curriculum vitae outside of the US is the same as resume in the US. And so just keep that in mind as you're reading through the article. So before the interview, tip number one, you want to know your CV, know your resume. Familiarize yourself with all the details on your resume to confidently discuss the roles and achievements. Number 2, you want to research your company. Understand the company's mission, vision, culture, and recent achievements using their website, social media, and tools like ChatGPT. Tip 3, prepare achievement stories. Develop engaging stories about your past accomplishments and using those in the STAR format when you're delivering those stories. It's easier for someone like myself as a recruiter to understand because we can kind of follow through the STAR format. Tip number 4, practice with AI. Use AI tools for mock interviews, but verify the accuracy of the information that's being provided. Tip 5, prepare for video interviews. Ensure your technology works and that you present yourself well on camera. Tip 6, know interview logistics. Be aware of the interview's time, location, and requirements to avoid last-minute issues. Now, those were things to do before the interview. Now, during the interview. Tip 7, dress appropriately. Dress according to the company's dress code while maintaining professionalism. Tip 8, bring copies of your resume. Have physical copies of your resume and cover letter showing preparedness. You just never know when the interviewer may not have your resume, or if they are looking at it online and then online goes down for some reason. So always be prepared and show your preparedness. Tip 9, mind nonverbal communication. Maintain good eye contact and avoid nervous body language. Tip 10, show enthusiasm. Clearly express your interest and enthusiasm for the role. Tip 11, ask informed questions. Ask insightful questions about the role and the company to demonstrate your engagement. Tip 12, treat every moment as part of the interview. Be professional and courteous from the moment you enter the company premises. Now, these last 3 tips cover after the interview. Tip 13, reflect on your performance. Review what went well and identify areas for improvement without being too critical of yourself. Tip 14, send a thank you note. Write a thoughtful thank you note or email, ideally, reiterating your fit for the role and addressing any points you might have missed during the interview. And tip 15, follow up if necessary. Send a polite follow-up email to inquire about the interview status if you haven't heard back, but avoid being overly persistent. These expert tips are designed to help job seekers navigate the interview process more effectively, enhancing your chances of securing your desired positions. For further details, you can read the full article. As I mentioned, the location, Matt will have that in the email that he sends out this afternoon. And then there were, at the bottom of the entire article, there are several other blocks of tips that I would recommend you take a look at. Just never know what you might need. All right, well, I hope you guys enjoyed this career tip of the week, 15 expert job interview tips to get hired faster in 2024. Have a great weekend, everybody.
Thank you much, Rosina. So let me talk a little bit about the interview success workshop that I do. I offer a workshop to help us gain those skills and confidence, for those hiring interviews. The world is different. I know that when I was laid off, downsized after 25 years, and I sat on the other side of the table and I said, it's not quite the same on this side as it is on the other side. I felt very calm and confident as I was interviewing candidates, but now it's a little bit differently. And I actually, in my first interview, there's not enough letters in the alphabet to tell you how poorly I did. I was only asked one question, said, well, Walter, what can you do for me? I had no clue. So I did a deep dive and I designed the interview success workshop. We all agree that we're selling in a workshop, in our interview, right? And so what are we selling? And I said, I think there's 3 things that I buy and that our interviewers are buying. Is that who we are, our personality, our soft skills, what we do, our hard skills, our experience, our education, all that put together. And then we combine those 2 to say, here's the value that we can bring to the table. So we want to sell how we can help as well. So how do we do that? So I designed this workshop using the 12 basic categories of questions. And those questions will cover motives behind them. We want to answer motives as well as the question itself. And what we can do then to say, all right, I'm going to tell you why you should hire me. Because the whole interview is why should you hire me? What is it about me? How are we different than others? So I also talk about differentiation, how we can differentiate ourselves in an interview. So all you have to do is look me up on LinkedIn on the One Class. The About section tells you the details about the workshop, how to register. My email address is on the banner page. Just send that to me. I do it on Tuesdays, 9 to 11 on Zoom. Be glad to have you participate. Just send me that email and get your schedule. Okay. I call it learning without squirming. Because we may as well have some fun while we're learning, right? It doesn't have to be all that pressure. And in our interviews, are we dying? And in preparation, are we sighing? Well, practice is where we're trying. The job success workshop is free, and I ain't lying. Jamie, can I press you in the service?
Yes, you can. Good morning, and I'm here to talk to you about the Dallas Pit Crew. So as you can see from the slide, we meet in person first, second, third, and fifth Wednesday. Easier to remember. Sorry.
They're shorter.
The fourth Wednesday is on Zoom. So next week, we're doing our interview practice on Zoom. It's practice interview team, but it's really a real mock interview. We have volunteer panelists that act as a representative of your target company. If you're a volunteer panelist, you typically spend 2 to 4 hours researching the company, the job description, and the candidate, so we can provide you a great interview. The goal of Pit Crew is to accelerate your job search and cross the finish line. Everybody who lands an interview appointment is qualified to do the job. Everybody. So how can you differentiate yourself to be that ideal candidate? Well, that's how Pit Crew can help you. The beauty about Pit Crew is that you get immediate feedback about your interview, not only from the panelists, but if you are welcome to observe. If you come and observe the interview, then we ask you to give feedback as well. We're booked about 3 weeks out, so send an email to dallaspitcrew@gmail.com with your resume and a target job description. It doesn't have to be a real interview. Practice early, practice often. I guest hosted last week. We had, 4 requests. I have an interview on Monday. Can you fit me in now? But it's not possible because we book out about 3 weeks out. So we'll teach you and show you the techniques to be a successful interview candidate. Please send an email to dallaspitcrew@gmail.com and join us to observe. You'll pick up some good tips too. Thanks, Bob.
Thank you, Gemma. Thank you so much for volunteering to help us when Bob was out. Did a good job, really good job. So just to let you know that we're going to be meeting for lunch. Those who would like to meet for lunch at Country Burger. Best hamburgers in town, and they got a great fried chicken sandwich. So they got a good menu there. We'd like to have it on the corner of Parker and Independence, right? Which is not too far from the church. Not enough. So if you're online and you're in the area, you're welcome to come join us. It doesn't have to be just the people that are here. Northwest corner. It's a great, northwest corner, right, Bob? And it is a great time to network. I've had one person say that in all of his job search, the lunches after this group met was the most valuable time he spent because of all participation and help. So we're glad to have you come join us. So we're welcoming and really privileged to have Locke Alderson come today to talk about how to rekindle your job search. Locke has been in the helping job seekers, how long? 2001. Since 2001. Care of the 21, 22, 23 years, right? Okay. A long time. Okay. It was back when he was 17 when he started. So it's great to have you, Locke. So come on up. Let's get you going.
Slideshow?
Slideshow.
Okay. Give you that one. I don't want to reverb. Okay. Can I turn this way?
Yes.
Face the audience. The audience we've got here, because I always have questions from the audience. See a few familiar faces out there. What?
Yeah. As long as I can see it.
They can see me. Well, thank you for having me. That's my bio up there on the screen, as you see. 42 years in recruiting and HR and industry. 12 of those I had my own recruiting firm here in Dallas. And then starting in 2001, at our church, I started an 8-week workshop, and that lasted for 15 sessions. And the market, people were finding jobs. We didn't find the need to continue. I also joined up at Double Oak, Texas. Those of you who remember Career Transition Workshop, it eventually moved to Stonebriar Community Church in 2013. At that time, Rex Sout, who was one of the founders of the group, asked me to put together a workshop, a module of the workshop they were teaching for rekindling your job search or restarting your job search. People that have run into the wall for 3 months, 6 months, not being able to find anything. So that's kind of what this workshop came about. This one is a little broader than the one I gave at that workshop because it encompasses more things. I touch on Zoom, on LinkedIn, how to use that. Touch on interview and networking. It was a great presentation that Galena did on that. And I would recommend reading that article. I read those periodically. Well, let's get started. Okay, if you can see that. For me, I've been laid off 5 times and fired once in my career. And I'm not counting all the jobs where I was a contractor,
contract had ended and I had to go find another contract. During those times, I often turn to scripture. This is a verse from the Old Testament that says, I know the plans that I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to help you and prosper you, plans to give you a hope and a future. I look at these verses very frequently, and I should back up one step. For those of you who'd like a copy of the presentation, it's lockealderson@gmail.com. If you'll just send me an email, I'll send you the presentation. I'm also doing a presentation on July the 2nd on Zoom for CareerWW on how to use LinkedIn for job hunting. And I finished up and I saw one of the people on the call today. I did resumes on Monday of this week. So it's been a busy 10-day period. So when you're out of work, you ask the questions, now what do I want to do now? Okay. You're at a crossroads. Okay. If you're starting or restarting your job career, what do you want to do? What are you good at? Okay. Those are questions that you ask of yourself when you're looking, putting together your resume and putting together the other tools that you need. One of the things you're at a crossroads, you may be experiencing a roller coaster of emotions at the same time. Why did they lay me off instead of the guy next door? And when I got laid off at Siebel the first time, they laid off 60% of their recruiting staff. We knew layoffs were coming because we hadn't done any hiring for 6 months. So they had us working on other tasks. Well, those are some of the things that you want to think about in terms of your emotions. Well, there is a job search psychology that's involved. Okay? Take a deep breath and try not to panic. First step. Okay. Talk to your family. They're in this process with you. They want to know what your status is. There's the story of the guy that got up every morning, got dressed, showered, put on his suit, took his briefcase and walked out the door and came back at 5 o'clock. His wife didn't find out until 3 months later that he didn't have a job. He's hurting himself. He's hurting his family. They're in it with you. Reflect on the successes you possibly had. I'm a cancer survivor. I've also had a brain tumor removed, and I've survived, and I'm here today to talk about it. So those are the successes that you can look back in your career. What have you done in your career? Those achievements that you have in your career, you should have a list of achievements for every job that you've had. And we're going to talk about achievements a little bit later in the presentation. And don't burn any bridges behind you. Don't badmouth your former boss, your former company, your former coworkers, because you never know when that company merged into a new company, when that former boss has moved on to the new company, or the coworkers have moved on to the new company, and they'll go to those people to check you out. You may need to develop or revise a job strategy. If you're not working, if what you're doing right now is not working, don't do it. Quit. Try something else. The advice that I give is free. If what you're working on now doesn't get you the results, try some things. If it doesn't, you can always go back to the way that you were doing things. Ask for help. Do network. Networking is still the #1 way for you to find a job. Lower end jobs, probably 35 to 40%. High end jobs, executive level, is probably up in the 75 to 90% of jobs. Who do you know and who do they know? I know my last 4 jobs in my career were all who do you know and who do they know? Did I cover everything on this? Look at your finances, something that many of us don't look at. Know what your expenses are, know what your spends are. Where's the money coming from? And put together a budget and live with it. Okay? Once you figure that budget out, know where the income is, you may be eligible for unemployment. I've given this in other states, so that's why I put TWC here. Okay? Severance pay if you got some, or Social Security benefits that you're eligible for early retirement, 62. Pension plan and lump sum payments. Sometimes the pension plan will pay you out and you have that option as opposed to taking an annuity. Take a look at your 401k and your IRA. They have loan provisions that you can take out. I know when I got laid off one time, I had to take out a loan for my 401k. I needed the money to make my bills. Maybe your your spouse has health insurance. There's COBRA. There's also insurance under CHIPS for children. You have kids, you can insure them under CHIPS. And COBRA, if you have it, if you have a major disability, it's worth the effort to pay the premium. And that's good for up to 18 months. Okay, what's the question? Okay. Rekindling and recharging. Who are you? What do you really want to do? You want to have the same or a similar job, or do you want something new? Take a look at your last job. Maybe go through Strengths Finders or Myers-Briggs or DISC, or do a factor analysis of your job. Take a look at your performance reviews if you've still got them. I pitched when we moved this last time, I got rid of some that I had from 1992. I'm a pack rat. I keep those in a file cabinet in the drawer in the garage. Look at your recommendations that you have on LinkedIn. I requested somebody to give me a recommendation on LinkedIn today. From the call that we were on Monday, you said you were very helpful, and I spent a lot more time with her after the call about that. So doing that, I requested that she wrote the kind and insightful notes that she sent back about me. Can you do a recommendation for me? Well, look at your recommendations. What have people said about you? What are your strengths? Or something else that you can do, write a Reader's Digest article. Most doctors' offices used to have the little Reader's Digest on the table, and they always had some kind of success story in it. Well, this one would be the greatest accomplishment of my career, because that'll give you some insight on what you're good at and what you want to do. Or write your obituary. What do you want to be known for? Or write the ideal job posting that matches up with your skills. Review your competition on LinkedIn. When I say that, do a search for yourself, like a recruiter in Dallas, Texas. I did one yesterday just to check out the data again. There are 50,000 people in the Dallas-Fort Worth area who have a recruiter in their profile. Obviously, they're not my competition. All of them are not my competition if I'm looking for a job as a recruiter. That's how many people have recruiter in their profile. And find your passion. What are you good at? What are you doing? What do you continue to do when you miss supper time? You're at your computer. I'm at my computer frequently doing things. My wife will call me. It's dinner's on the table. I have to set it aside. So what's your passion about? And do an honest reality check. This is important. What happened to you? What happened to you? What happened to you really happened to you? Look at things as they are, not as how they should be or how you want them to be. And remember, firstly, you're not alone. Just look around in the room. For those of you on the Zoom meeting, look at your fellow people in the chat window that are there. Those are the people who can help you. Networking groups are vitally important. We have a representative of Southlake over here, right? Okay. And Walt does his. Pit Crew is another one. It's a group that you can network with. It's amazing. But go to the luncheon today and network with people there. How have you dealt with change in the past? How many of you remember what a car phone? There was a couple of telecommunications people are. How many remember what a car phone looked like a brick and sat on your transmission knob? Mine is like this right now. On my 8th generation, I've got to do one thing which you should need to do in your interviews. Turn them off so you don't get called. I mean, if your wife is expecting a baby, maybe, or somebody's in surgery, how have you dealt with change? I was an early adopter of personal computers. I had a Trash 80. Anybody remember that? The big 8-inch disc, floppy disk that goes with that? Radio Shack. Radio Shack. They're missed about older workers too. Older workers bring some definite advantages to company. They've got head knowledge and practical experience. I know when I was laid off many times, they're looking for a recruiter with 3 to 5 years experience. I'd have 20 or 25. The things that I would know about prior companies that aren't in business anymore. I'd know generalities about the different types of work that I was recruiting for. So those are some things that you can do, talk about. And yes, there still really is discrimination against us older folks. I'm more than 17. I turned 82 a week ago. So they do discriminate. But if they do discriminate, that's probably not the company that you want to work for. And what else do they do about people? So just what is the status? This is a quick overview of unemployment. 4% nationwide. Dallas, since I did this slide, is back up to 4%. But it's the lowest rate it's been for decades. Hiring was a robust top. But again, there's hiring that's going on, and there's this kind of a fit. They aren't fitting together. So that's something that you need to be aware of. That's one of the reasons to tailor your resume. When you talk about that for the guys, have you ever bought a suit at a department store? And unless you were one of those lucky guys that could get one off the rack, you had some tailoring. Maybe the pants were taken up, the waist taken up or let out. For ladies, maybe the same thing, the cuffs up on the jacket. Well, that's some just statistics that are available about your job market. But what are really employers looking for? Well, you notice that barrel of apples over there. What's wrong with that one apple? It's not the one that they want to pick, and I'll talk a little bit more about that a little bit later. Hiring managers don't want to make the wrong decision. It costs money. When I was with Siebel, they'd have to go ahead and somebody lasted 60 days or 90 days and got fired or quit, had to go back up to see Tom Siebel's office to get a rec approved. They'd ask, well, why? You had to have an explanation. Headcounts are still tight. Candidates who want have kept their skills current. What have each of you done? I'll ask you that question to keep your skills up. One of the things you've done is networking, attending meetings like this. Companies still want A+ players. When I was with Siebel, we're always looking for A+ players. The problem is a couple of years later, those A+ players have shifted down to B's and C's, primarily because they haven't kept their skills current. Do they have the right job, the right training and skills and experience? And then the things that recruiters, the companies ask, will they do the job? Okay. Hit the ground running, let their experience contribute to the success of the company. And do they fit culturally? There's a company here in town that's noted for having a workforce that's mostly under 40. Me, going in at age 80, probably not a good cultural fit. So that's something to consider. Okay, another verse of scripture that I've always been attracted to: cast your anxiety on him because he cares for you, from 1 Peter in the New Testament. Just one of those verses that's an encouragement at the beginning of my day. This one is something I talked about the purple squirrel. But what is a purple squirrel? Well, this is a magazine for recruiters in the early 90s. And the purple squirrel is that ideal candidate that managers look for. They've got all the experience and training that they want. They're the right age, without talking about that. And they'll work for peanuts. I've not seen too many of those when I've had hiring managers, but I have gone to them and said, I've done some recruiting for you. I found some people that are very close. Why don't you take a look at those three and see if one of them might be one that you want to talk to? Typically, they interview a couple of them and hire somebody, because I don't know too many people about those purple squirrels. Resume black hole, I want to talk about briefly about. It's kind of what I talked about on Monday a little bit. With the advent of the computer, it's possible for you to send out not just 10 resumes a day, but as many as 100. Instead of having to stick your resume in an envelope, fold it, stick it in an envelope, address the envelope, put a stamp on it, take it out to the mail. You can now just use your computer and send out resumes. Well, companies wised up and said, okay, we're going to adopt software. Deal with that. Applicant tracking software, and there are about 100 different software packages out there today. You never know which one that company has purchased, because 90% of the Fortune 500, Fortune 1000 companies have an applicant tracking software package that they use. So you need to be aware of that. What are the resumes used for? Why do you even have a resume? There were articles back about 20 years ago, the death of the resume made cover of Time magazine. Okay. One, I teach a class at our church now for job readiness skills for English as a second language students. So one of the things that they're applying for, a lot of the jobs kind of at Target and Walmart or Amazon, they simply have a kiosk at the front where you fill in the information. So if it's nothing more than a list of your jobs and employers and the dates and your phone numbers, that's all it is for them. For more people, it's a piece of advertising. You get advertising in the mail. I usually get them now for cruise ships. Okay, I only got 2 this week. I don't know, maybe it's a slow week. But cruise ships send us brochures to go on a cruise, because we've had since retiring, about 20 cruises that we've gone. So it's a piece of advertising. Most advertising like that are for credit cards. What happens to it? What do you do with it? Goes into the junk file or into the mail. Companies can't throw away your resume. They have to keep them on file for a minimum of 3 years. I think it's 30 months. I think that's what they have to do, and then they can purge them if it's in a hard copy. Soft copies, depends on the company. They may have cleaned their database up at 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. I used to, as a recruiter, like to go gold mining in those old resumes. Reason being, people have been in their job about 27 months. That's the average stay for most professionals in their job. So those people are open to a fishing expedition. I'm looking for somebody like you. Do you happen to know of anybody? And they raise their hand. During the interview, resume is the script. You've given them the information to talk about. They're going to ask you information for that, and then you're going to tell stories about that. So it's the script for the interview. After the interview, it may be the only reminder they have of you. I know I had, when I was on a recruiting firm, had a candidate interview with Tektronix, a company that used to make oscilloscopes. He was one of 40 candidates, 40 interviewed for a sales engineer job. He got to the second round of 5. I'm sure that the manager took copious notes in the margins on the guy's resume. He didn't make that placement because they canceled the job. So what should be included and what's excluded? I've got to add something to this. I noticed this in reviewing the slide earlier. I want a headline or marquee. If your headline or your job title that you put on there doesn't match what they're looking for, it may get eliminated. Okay? It's simple. It's as simple as that. Depends on how tight their criteria the recruiter or hiring manager used on their applicant tracking system. And it should change for each job that you apply for. So, but it is a match for that company. One exception, and that's if you're fishing for jobs. You may not know, you may know a company, and you're just interested in finding out what they have. So a general resume and a general title of 2 or 3 titles is appropriate. A summary. It's your branding statement of who you are and what you've done. With short examples to support your headline. Maybe 3 to 4, 5 sentences at most. Anything longer than that, you can get rid. I can tell you, I've reviewed over 1 million resumes in my day, and we just don't read them. We don't have time. Keywords from the job posting are vitally important. There's something called word saturation where you want to have keywords in your headline, if you can. You want to have keywords in your jobs. If you've done those things, they need to be there more than one time. When Siebel was acquired by Oracle Corporation, we were still looking for a Siebel consultant in Minneapolis, Minnesota. So I ran a posting up there. Minneapolis, St. Paul is a pretty decent sized geographic area. Had 75 people respond. 50 of them did not have the word Siebel in their resume. What were they? They went into the B pile automatically. The other 25, I looked at their resumes to see how many times they mentioned the word Siebel. This is word saturation. One time, they may have been a Siebel user, a software product, which was called relationship management software package for salespeople. If they had it 10 times, they're more likely to have been a consultant who has actually installed the product, which is what I was looking for. Okay. We'll tell you about resumes. There's only one perfect resume. That's the one that gets you the results that you want. So if you give your resume to 100 different recruiters, you may get as many as 100 different opinions about their resume. That's not your word. But you remember, that's the other side of the people that are reading. So you're trying to key your resume to what they're looking for. These are just some assumptions that are made about people who write resumes. They overestimate the power of their resume. Okay? They assume that their resumes actually get read. What do we say? 75% of them get scanned. And then the other 25%, they get scanned too, 6 to 10 seconds worth. So what you have to do is to try and get them to slow down, actually read your resume. People underestimate the number of resumes that can be received. I mentioned how many, does anybody recall the number of recruiters on LinkedIn in Dallas-Fort Worth area? 50,000. Not all of those would apply for a recruiter job, but if some of them did, there could be as many as 200 or 300 apply for that. So again, recognize that there is a lot of competition out there. So again, your resume needs to fit the requirements, answer the questions of the hiring manager. You overestimate the quality of the people reviewing the resumes. When it gets to a pair of human eyes to look at, it may be a clerk in HR as opposed to the hiring manager recruiter. Even recruiters don't know all the details about jobs. Okay, older, more experienced, more mature recruiters tend to learn more about what's really required in the job in addition to what's on the piece of paper of the requisition. Again, the reader will understand the content. High school graduate isn't going to understand a PhD in physics resume. Maybe somebody in telecommunications, all the acronyms in telecommunications, and I've recruited telecommunications. There's a lot of acronyms there. More is better. Long resumes for academic people, professors, and maybe for people that are researchers or inventors, because they'll list all their patents. Longer than that, 2 to 3 pages, probably the max, or it won't get read. Again, take another look. I've mentioned statistics. Who sees your resume first? Okay. 100 companies. Those are just some statistics, and those are out of date because more companies have adopted applicant tracking software. Third parties, they have contract recruiters at some companies that do reviewing. Unclear about what's in the resume. You should be able to hand it to your neighbor, your spouse, your kids, if they're high schoolers, and they should be able to read and understand it. And remember, I'm scanning a resume in 6 to 10 seconds. If it looks good, you set it aside, maybe read further. People that have gotten their resumes reviewed for 45 seconds, the odds double and triple that they'll get a phone interview. Those are just something to remember. What a recruiter doesn't look for in resumes. This is something from the career transition workshop we used to talk about. Dirk Spencer used to talk about that and give his resume psychology outline. Vague content, too much information. You don't need to put that you're married and have 2 kids, or that you go to this church or that church, or that you're active in a civic organization. They can be helpful later, but not necessarily at the start. Kiss of death phrases. Results oriented. If you don't explain how or give an example that your results are already, it's a kiss of death phrase. Like those others, passionate self-starter, seasoned professional. That's somebody with an assistant who's walking behind, sprinkling salt over his shoulder, seasoning. These are a few jokes. I try and toss those into. Another kiss of death word, dynamic, utilized. These words alone are good words, and if you're using them, they're probably true about you. But you need to give an example. It shows that you're dynamic. It shows that you're powerful. First person. Resumes, we don't use I, me, my. Okay? That's simple. Increasingly, LinkedIn is allowing you to do that in your about section, which is their version basically of the resume. Words that launch your experience. Every time I do this, or all the time, those are some words that dilute what you're saying, because none of us do it every time. Even baseball, good batter, professional batter may hit 400 occasionally. Words recruiters rarely search for. I've never searched for in 42 years, jack of all trades. Now, the person I hired or I recommended probably did a lot of things that you could say, that's a jack of all trades. Okay. Headlines must match the title of the job posting. If you have an objective, pull it. I don't care about your objectives as a hiring manager. I want my needs met as a hiring manager for my company. They may match, they may not. Limit your summary to 3 to 6 lines. Anything longer, it won't get read. Followed by short accomplishment statements. Okay? And they add credibility to your experience. There's too many resumes, and I'll talk about that in a minute, have just your duties or your responsibilities. They don't say what you did, what you really accomplished. And what's your resume's freshness character? We looked at that box of apples. What was the one thing in that box of apples? When you go to the grocery store, were you going to pull the red one? Not out of that box. I might pull it out of another red box. Or you tend to look at the expiration date on milk or meat. What? Question. Okay.
Go back. The kiss of death. There you go.
Okay. As I said, if you want the slide deck, it's got all this information at lockealderson.com, and I'm happy to send it to you. You have a question, Walt? Oh, okay. Did that answer my question online? Okay. Freshman's guarantee, as I said, it may be something as simple as going in and changing something. When we used to respond to a lot of job boards, you could go in and put in a period, take out a period, put in a comma, take out a period. Because what that does tells the computer this is a fresh resume. It doesn't know any better. It's the same resume that you've had, but you've added something new, so it's new. Like new products on the consumer products, they put new on a package. They may not change the formula inside at all. Just the packaging. These are some do's and don'ts. Don't use text boxes, headers, or templates. Applicant tracking software I mentioned, you don't know which one they're going to have. And a lot of them, particularly for headers for your contact information. I've had too many resumes where the header field was a null field, meaning you didn't have any contact information. I couldn't read it. So if I had a perfect resume on a candidate and I wanted to get hold of them, there's no way I could do it. And it frustrates you as an applicant because you never hear anything. Contact, make it easy to reach you with your phone numbers, your email, and your LinkedIn URL, and your zip code. Zip code is important because applicants have taught recruiters like me, I don't want to drive more than 20 to 25 miles to work. So what do recruiters do? They said, well, I won't recruit more than 20 to 25 miles from the location. And that's why on most of the job boards, you'll see a setting that says 25 miles. That's the default setting. You can lower it 10 or 15, 5, you can up it to 50 or 100. That's what zip code is used for. The headline is a laser focus. If you're going to the movies and you don't see Black Panther on the marquee, I can guarantee you won't be able to see it at that theater. So try and match it up. Summary counts and concrete examples. Skills tables, if you have an unusual background, some managers, and particularly IT people, will have skills tables. It's okay to have those, and it's usually good to have them on the front page, top third of the page if you can. The reason being that skills tables, if I'm a recruiter, it makes it simple for me to see if somebody's got Oracle experience they worked on, what kind of hardware and what kind of operating systems that they've worked with. Real estate, as I said, 2 to 3 pages. All the basics. This is just formatting in terms of type fonts. You can notice the difference on Arial, Tahoma, Calibri, and Times Roman. You can see 10 point, 11 point, and 12 point font, how big they are. One article that I got this week said, limit your type fonts to 11 point for body text, 12 points for your section headings, and maybe 14 points for your name. Used to be when you send your resume, the large, 22 point font for your name, send it to a job board, cuts it in half. Always fun as a recruiter to try and figure out what their name was. Okay. 1 inch margins all around. Left justified, that's one of those tabs up at the top on a toolbar where you can do it to the left and rag it right. Anybody that does it has it centered in proportional space, looks nice and neat, like we're printing a book. Those are harder to read. Okay? And do limit your use of bold, underline, italics, and shadowing. Don't use shadowing. That's possible on some, graphic artists like to show shadows and stuff on theirs. And sometimes that will crash the computer. Okay, this is kind of a summary of resumes. Quick. I hit the wrong button. Okay, company name. I like the company name on the left. Location. Too many times people leave off the location where it is on the left side. The date's out to the right. That's just how I was trained as a recruiter. And that's how a lot of recruiters were trained to look at it. If the company that you work for is not well known or has gone out of business, put a tagline to describe it. I work for a company called Memrec, not Memrec, Mostec. Yeah, right. Memorex was out of business too. But they went out of business in 1983. At the time I worked for them, they were the world's leading producer of random access memories. So that's a tagline to tell somebody the industry that I work in, who I was working with. Duties and responsibilities. As I said, most of the resumes, probably 75 to 80% of the resumes I've reviewed in my career, just talked about the duties and responsibilities. Relevant experience. It needs to be followed by bullet results. Is that answered? Bullets could be an active verb by 1 to 2 line descriptions, examples. Keywords more than once. If you use an acronym like AMA, what's AMA? American Medical Association, American Motorcycle Association. If you look at older editions of Webster's Dictionary in the back for abbreviations, there are 20 for AMA. A lot of resumes don't talk about what they've done to keep their education growth. They simply talk about when they got their bachelor's or master's or PhD. Any certifications you've had or awards, we'll include those. They'll show that you've kept up with your technology in your field. Omit references and pictures. Do use a spell checker and grammar. The manager is 1 letter away from major. Double check the dates and numbers. I have a transition problem with my fingers when I'm typing numbers. I'll do that. It's easier if it's a keypad as opposed to the numbers at the top of the page. What happens to those resumes? If you never hear anything, odds are you'll never know. Maybe it's because there are too many unqualified candidates. The 50 that applied for my job in Minneapolis, St. Paul, they were applying because Oracle probably had a few other jobs in that area, and they were expecting me as a recruiter to forward their resume or stick it in the database. It got stuck in the database anyway. Okay. Keyword versus the job description. The ones that have the most matches tend to rise to the top of the search when an algorithm does the search. Okay. Top matches are phone interviewed. This is something that I haven't heard in any job, any resume situation, so I want to talk about it. How you can improve your resume. One of the ways is to dissect or cut apart the job posting and find the job requirements. Take those job requirements and insert them in a table of 2 columns and 2 rows. The company name and the job title on the left side of the first row. The second row is the job qualifications. And then on the right side, your experience. That's the first column. First row. Second is how you match up to that. I'm going to come back to this and the other posting, other uses for it in a minute. This is an actual job posting for DXC Technology. Used to be over on Renner Road at Central. I can notice the signage is off the building for them now. What we did in this candidate I was working with, we took job education and requirements experience and inserted them in a table like this. And I asked him to fill in how his experience matched them. And then we took that, the title of the job, and some of his experience accomplishments, and plugged them into his resume, right at the top, making it easy for the reader to say, he matches my job, he's got 3 things that I'm looking for in my requirements. And they're right there in the first third of the page. Makes it easy for the recruiter to find out what he's looking for. The other things that you can do with that job requirements table, sorry, I left that out. You can use that job requirements table when you get a phone interview. You've got that in front of you, you've got your resume, and you've got the job posting. And when they ask you the question, you can tell a star story when they ask that. You've got the reminder of what the star story starts with. This is about achievements, right? Most of the time, if you can do it, you want to list dollars and cents. That's not always possible. But if you save the company money, you save the customer. Comparison between you and a predecessor. What's going on? How to make a company more active or more competitive. When you do achievement statements, you want to ask, so what? What's the difference? What's the significance of this? Did it contribute? What's the rest of the story? Does it tell a complete story? More tips. Include the keywords. Include accomplishments, the measurable results of performing your duties. They add credibility. I can't stress it enough. Focus on getting your resume in the hands of a hiring manager recruiter. Look them up on LinkedIn if you can. If you don't have it, manager for accounting at XYZ Corporation. See if you got to do a company search and see if you can find out the man's name for that. Use different channels of delivery or become an employee referral. Some companies have employee referral programs. When I first went to Siebel, we were paying $2,500 a head for that Siebel consultant. And one employee got 6 candidates hired in 6 months. So he made $1,500. Is that right? 25, $1,500. Made $1,500, $15,000. 2,500. Okay. This was 20 years ago. Okay. The other thing is try different delivery channels. We mentioned that the most common way to do things today is to send on your computer. But if you send it by a FedEx envelope, a registered letter, or simply sending it snail mail, somebody has to deal with it. I'm going to ignore that. So still calling and you can't hear it, I don't think. Okay. Or try different deliveries. FedEx envelope and the registered mail, somebody has to sign for those. Do use the keywords and phrases. Don't neglect having a summary and don't assume anything. Okay, but just quick reminders there. This is the phone interview that I mentioned. I stuck it in a little bit later. This is the guy that you can have after you've given your 30-second pitch. You want to transition with a question called, I told you a little bit about the ideal about me. Can you tell me about the ideal candidate that you're looking for? And that hopefully will verify their requirements that they've listed. It can be used in a cover letter. A lot of cover letters have 3 sections: where you found the job, how you match the qualifications or requirements, and let's get together to talk. I had one candidate from our other group that Tom and I are in. Her cover letter was 5 paragraphs in the middle. And I'm saying, don't read that. Okay? Think about your email in the morning. What do you do with most of you? You look at the sender line, the subject, and make a decision. 90% of them get deleted. The others may be hold for look at a little bit later. Same kind of thing with resumes, cover letters. If you have concerns about the cover letter having a table, it will go through the applicant tracking system. You can do it a slightly different way. There it is. And just have your qualifications. Hopefully they'll know what their requirements are and they can just match them up. Keep your momentum going. Okay, job hunting is a full-time job. But you want to take one day at a time, not worry about maybe how am I going to pay the rent at the end of the month? I've had that. How am I going to buy groceries? I know when I was laid off one time, I went down to my mortgage company. I said, I'm not anticipating missing any mortgage payments. I want to let you know what my financial status is. I'm out of a job. I collect unemployment for a while, but I don't have a regular job yet. Okay? Take care of yourself. First impressions are important. Okay? If I come up with jeans, shorts, and flip-flops, my credibility to you probably wasn't as strong with having khakis and a polo shirt. Or if I'd been in a suit, like Matt, or sport coat size. Put your game plan together. Keep a calendar. I know mine is in my briefcase. I don't have much, but that call that I could hear is asking me if I can play bridge next week. Maybe this afternoon. Phone phobia. How many of you have the phobia about talking on the telephone? Okay. If you do that, one simple trick is to look somebody up on LinkedIn and be able to look at their picture. Okay. You have a script for what you want to say. Just a brief outline of the things that you want to try and cover. There's some ways to get around that. What are your strengths and weaknesses? Companies still ask, what's your strength? What are your weaknesses? Attention to detail. Active recruiter. One of the things I did when my last year with E-Systems, another company that's out of business, was my last year I hired 180 people. That may not seem like a lot, but when you have to consider that they had to be U.S. citizens and work in Washington, D.C., or Dallas, Texas, Garland, Texas, and be able to qualify for security clearance, that narrowed the pool of candidates significantly. And network. So high volume recruiting was one of the things. Building a support infrastructure and networking. You're here, hopefully we'll go to lunch and exchange information. But networking is still the number one. This was from when I worked at Lee Harrison, a slide that they gave. 57% of the jobs are filled through networking. That's primarily for professionals and executives. You haven't started networking, go to lunch today, start. And attend the groups, even if you're on Zoom. 2 or 3 is not too many. Career DFW has this meeting, right? That's one of the Zoom meetings that they have on Tuesdays. If you go to the professional meetings like the CPA, the American Society of Training and Development, FANG is Financial Executives Networking Group, Marketing Executive Group, Users Group like Oracle Users Groups, North Texas Mortgage Associated the Mortgage Professionals, Knights of Civic groups like the Knights of Columbus, Rotary, Kiwanis, alumni groups, meetup groups, all available. Success North Dallas is another one. Mike Simmons runs a group in Frisco, North Dallas. Can't remember what the name of his group is, but he meets together pretty often. And executives in Action has executives in transition, supposed to business navigators. They meet their week next week. It's coming up in July. Those are some groups that you can meet that have people looking for jobs. And some of those people have jobs. I know when I went to some of my professional association meetings in recruiting, there might be 25 or 30 recruiters in the room and a couple of guests who are looking for work. Well, they'd say, how many recruiters have got job openings? There might be 10. How many people are looking for jobs? 3. I mean, here are people to talk to. They're hiring. They're in the same room with you. Okay. So face-to-face interviewing, practice interviewing is, Emma said, answers that you write out the questions that you're going to think you're going to be asked and the ones that you want to answer. Do your research and your homework. Don't badmouth them former employers, and have business cards and resumes if it's face to face. And be courteous to the gatekeepers. That receptionist at the desk, or that guard with a pistol. But sometimes the recruiter would come out and say, "What do you think of them?" They weren't asking about their qualifications or the job. How did they fit culturally with our organization? That's that cultural fit. Informational interviews is something else I'll talk about. Informational interviews work. You understand your company hires some people like this, and you've been looking for somebody, that could be an informational interview. And they would say, well, I am looking for somebody like that, and that's kind of your background. Would you like to interview? Or conversely, when the interview goes along and you realize 5 minutes in, it ain't a fit. But they've probably been interviewing some other people that are. So you can ask, a little bit about my background, or are there any other companies I should be talking to? Now, they could turn both ways. And again, convincing the hiring manager, the recruiter, that you're not a risk. Let's talk a little bit about LinkedIn. Originally, it was a sales tool, a tool for networking among sales and marketing professionals. Right now, there are 900 million people on LinkedIn worldwide. 180 million are in the US. So that's a big market. It was quickly adopted by recruiters as the #1 tool to find and source candidates. 92% of the hiring managers and recruiters use LinkedIn on a regular basis. 30 million employers, over 20 million jobs are on LinkedIn on any given day. These are LinkedIn statistics, so it's not just for me. Okay. And recruiters, about 1.5 million recruiters on LinkedIn looking for candidates. And that's not including the ones that pay the license. LinkedIn was purchased by Microsoft, so it's a license, a recruiter license to access all LinkedIn worldwide is $10,000 a seat. The Recruiter Lite package, which is just the United States, is $5,000 a year. So those packages are available to people. Your homepage is like your resume, as I've mentioned. Your about section is basically your resume. It can be longer on LinkedIn. You have 2,000 characters in your about section. Having a complete resume profile makes you an all-star, which means that you tend to rise to the top of most lists when algorithm search is done, and you meet the criteria. List job titles, not just the one. If you don't list a job title in your headline, it defaults to the title of your last job, and that may not be the job that you want. Okay. Complete the open to work section. The one caveat that I'll give is a warning there. If you're in job stealth mode, somebody said they were in job stealth mode on the call, you may only want to open your open to work section to recruiters as opposed to the World Wide Web LinkedIn participants. Another thing that I found in counseling people about their LinkedIn profile, I don't know how to get hold of them if I'm not a first degree contact and they have not opened up their security settings to show their phone number and their email. Put your phone number and your email in the first line of your about section. The reason being, when I look at a profile, I only see 3 lines in your about section. First one should be, how do I get hold of you? Okay. Question. Yeah, weren't there some restrictions on where you can put your email address and stuff on it? Is that all done right? No, it's only in your name. Only in your name. And then LinkedIn police may come along and say, we're going to ban you for 30 days. Do keep up your education, webinars and seminars and workshops that you've attended. If you've achieved any of those, put them on there. They show that you're still working to keep up in your profession. Arrange your skills. You have a chance now. Somebody told me 100 skills, but I think mine is still 50 skills. If you don't go in and sort those, okay, and there's the 3 little dots up there. If you go in, click on that when you open your skills, allow you to reorder your skills. Okay? So you may want to and that may be the tool. The only thing that you do to refresh your profile is go and reorder those once in a while if you're applying for a different job. So you want the 3 top skills. I think it's now 2 because you added something to it. 2 skills, and those should be the ones that relate to the job that you're most interested in at the time. And seek endorsements and recommendations. And your activity. If you're on, when I was on as a recruiter 2 or 3 times a day, I would show up in the list of recruiters. I would show up in the first 2 screens. That's the first 20 recruiters. Okay. What are you doing to attract hiring managers and recruiters' attention on LinkedIn? This is 6 to 10 seconds to look at my profile. You notice here, I've used the bullet, the pipe character, and it's on the key, on your keyboard, it's the shift character above enter. You have to use that. Be sure and use a blank space on either side, because if you don't, those two words are linked together. They are not going to show up in anybody's search. What? Pipe character is right. It's got a pointer. The pipe character is right there. Or backslash. Use a backslash or pipe character to identify that. So I revised my resume, my profile. This is what it was to be. And I added some adjectives, which you can do in there. Accomplished recruiting consultant, successful executive recruiter, senior career consultant, highly engaged. I have to read it on here. Highly skilled technical and professional recruiter, currently sought after as a speaker at workshops and seminars. You can use adjective to describe some of the things you've done. What is the value that you brought? I've done high volume recruiting. That's the job. Okay. Do look at other people. Searching for jobs, you have actually three options. You have a search bar right up here. You can search from there, or you can click on the jobs tab, put in the two bobs here. If you put in your title, your company here that you're looking for, don't put anything in the location. It will default to the United States, unless you've had prior searches that you in that session that you've gone with. Okay. There are some filters on LinkedIn that are very important. This is an older version of that. They generally appear up here on this side of the screen. These are some of the filters that you can look at. There's a voice that says, I have made some changes mentioned months back, and it does make a difference. Testimony. So these are some of the things that they've adopted from Indeed.com, one of which is the salary parameters. I think that's the salary. And you can search by salary. So if you're not interested in entry-level jobs, it's $25,000 a year, move up a notch and kick those jobs out. If you get to the point where you aren't finding any, you go back up here, clear button, reset at that point. Homework for your LinkedIn profile. Complete it. If you're out of work, add a section to show that you're working with the current dates. What's your title that you're looking for? If you're looking for an industry as opposed to the company name. And then a little bit more information in the description that you have 15 years of telecommunications experience. Add a current section. It does allow you to do that. Job title or titles. Use multiple titles. Again, LinkedIn search for titles. Searches for them in your headline, your about section. It searches for them in your open to work section. It also searches your skills section for all of those things. You put your phone number on the top line of your about section. Make it easy for me to contact you. Keywords, key skills, final thoughts about reinventing yourself. If what you're doing isn't working, stop. Don't do it anymore. Don't apply for jobs where you're not qualified. You're probably not going to get called. Tweak your resume. Remember, I mentioned the freshness guarantee. And your profile on LinkedIn at least once a week. It may be that you just add a title in your headline, or take a title out, or rearrange your skills. Don't try and boil the ocean and send out multiple resumes. Same resume to every company that you send out to, because I can almost guarantee you it's going to get rejected for most of them. And keep in contact with those people in your network that you contact. Every 4 weeks, 6 weeks, say, I haven't heard. I just want to give you an update on where I am. I've had some partial success, some good interviews. Haven't found that right opportunity yet. If you'll remember, I'm looking for this and this and this. You can do it with an email. Okay. Well, all right. Okay. Become an employee referral. Employees get bonuses sometimes. And those employee referrals have to get looked at a little bit extra by recruiters. They have to have an answer as to why they didn't talk to you. They don't necessarily have to interview you, or why they weren't. Tom Siebel, trickle down effect from Tom Siebel's office. We didn't have to hire them. We did have to have an answer as to what we did with it. Send thank you notes to everybody. Okay, it can be email, it can be snail mail. But try and get the email address for the people that you talk to. And use the different email addresses sent to them. Don't send it to the recruiter and said, can you pass this along to the team that I interviewed with? I got things in my job, my day to do. Don't forget to volunteer. Got two guys right over here. I think I'm qualified as a volunteer. Okay. Put some fun things in your calendar. Don't just think because I'm on a zero budget, you can't go out and get an ice cream. Used to be you could get ice cream for $1. Now I think it's up to $3. But you can get an ice cream cone at Brahms. Huh?
For cheap at Brahms.
Two, okay. So you can do something like take your kids to the park and swing. Or if you're downtown, the water fountain at some of the buildings downtown, water gushing up from the floor. Okay. And add some humor to your life. If you're not going to get the job, don't get discouraged about it. Just take this is one step closer to getting the job I want. My email address is down there at the bottom, lockealderson@gmail.com. I'm going to turn it over 45, 50 minutes. Oh, this is one other thing. It's in the slide deck. If you're looking to go self-employment, I did this again for that workshop up at Frisco. This is what employers get for taxes, different considerations for being a contractor on this side. Turn it back over to you, Will. Questions? Yes. Send me lockealderson@gmail.
I'll put it in the email that I sent after.
There it is.
Locke with an E.
Locke with an E. No, it's not Anderson, it's Alderson @gmail.com. Thank you for your patience with me. I've enjoyed it. I have fun doing this, sharing some of the expertise and knowledge that I have over all those years.
Well, we got a question online.
Okay.
Do you have any thoughts on cover letters, and is anybody still reading them?
75 to 80% of cover letters don't even get read. So one way to get them read is to stick them in as either the front page of your resume or the back page of your resume. So all of that information that might be relevant that you couldn't put in your resume or didn't take time into updating your resume is there in your folder. But you're right, resume, that's why I suggested the table cover letter, because most cover letters don't get read. Yes.
When you're showing the requirements.
Yes.
And you're putting like, when you were showing the requirements and the graph. Is there? You put on the left side what they want and on the right side what you contribute or what you have. Could you just dive there? Yes. Usually what I've been doing lately is copying the cover sheet and get their requirements. And then I write right next to it. Then what they say, and that's what I want.
I just do it in a table that's easier to read.
So would you put both sides in the cover letter?
Well, you could do it like this with both sides. The other version,
You just put your,
like that. But it makes it easy for that reader. Remember I said your email, how long do you spend on your email in the morning? Seconds. So at least what you want to do, you've had, here's where you found the job. And here are the things they said they were looking for and how you match up to them. Doesn't have to be 100%. And you may have, that's the other thing about 75 or 80% match. As a professional, you can go through and look at the qualifications here. And if you don't match 75 to 80% of them, don't apply. However, if the job has been open for a while, they may not be able to health and safety environmental engineer for Arkansas. I did a search for a guy who was, that's his background. There were 6 firms in Arkansas, Texas, Louisiana, and Oklahoma with that job title. So jobs that are 6 to 30 days old, yeah, I might still apply for those.
so if there's something in the requirements that you don't have, a certain software you're not familiar with.
One of the things is you got to recognize early on those kind of things, they're going to try and find the ones that do. If the job has been open a while, they may have to modify their qualifications to take somebody with less experience.
But you put it in your cover letter.
Sure,
that
you have
don't
some.
access, you know.
You have
really
some,
ever-
is the glass half full, or half empty? If you have something like it, if you haven't worked with Taleo, but you've worked with a gold mine or another Workday software package for applicant tracking. Okay.
On the subject of cover letters, this is just kind of an evolving strategy, but I noticed a lot of people have been using ChatGPT and AI and discussing this for
Great.
cover letters.
Why don't you create your cover letter?
Yeah, so it sounds like I've used something rather similar to this where I copy and paste the whole job description and my old cover letter and a resume into ChatGPT, and I say, you are applying for this job X, you are this candidate Y. Please write X cover letter for candidate Y, and it will pump it out. Especially if, like you're saying, 75% of cover letters aren't even being read by employers. If we're trying to compete, this seems almost it has to be the way forward.
The only warning that I can give you about AI generated anything, you can go in and review it and make sure that it's you. Because if they ask you a question about something that's in your cover letter or in your resume, and if you don't have that experience, but it's in your resume, it's a red flag for recruiters, and they're going to ask what other red flags are. Okay, well, any more questions? I'm happy to answer.
My understanding, you're saying if you're unemployed right now, then you can list your current job as basically what you're seeking on LinkedIn.
Yes. I don't have it here. My computer's there. But I teach LinkedIn for job hunting on the 2nd of July, 1 o'clock on 2nd of July. Because we're skipping next week.
Yes.
When I was scheduled. I was scheduled to speak next week and I have a family emergency that I have to deal with.
Say July.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we moved me out to July the 2nd. And I will touch on that to some extent.
Okay, sounds good.
Don't see any other questions.
You guys have covered that much stuff.
Thank you, Locke.
Thank you. You know, what's really special is I get to shake the presenter's hand today instead of watching him on TV. Really nice to have you in person, Locke. And we encourage, for those of you that are online, to join in person because there's many more advantages, that networking advantage to come along. So what would I do with Locke's presentation? I saw a pretty long to-do list and it's pretty thorough. All right. And you go look at that and say, okay, what do I need to work on? What part? How do I plan my time accordingly? I think one of the things that we should do as candidates, as job seekers, is build a plan of what you're going to do this week, what you're going to try to accomplish this week. You talked about accountability groups, Locke. A great way to get together and help each other do that sort of thing. So great stuff, great information, a lot of stuff covered in a very short amount of time. That's good information. So Matt will be sending out some information following this to all the participants. If we have your legible email on your sign-in sheet, for those of you that joined us here, if you put your email inside the chat window, we'll have that. And we'll include Locke's email address so you can request that to this presentation. So glad to have that happen today. All right. Yes.
One thing. Today, I know two of us were 20 minutes late because the doors were locked. We couldn't get in South Entrance or North Entrance.
Okay, there's a question about how do we get in the church when the doors are locked? Okay. Yeah, well, we have plans to make that work, and sometimes it's not working. The answer to the question is this: on Fridays, the north part of the church is closed. And then we found out today that, as we were told, that the south part was going to be open. The door will be open. We found out that wasn't true today. So what we're doing is having to post someone at the door to let people in, or at least about, until about 1:45. And also there's a note on there that says text to this number
and we'll come let you in, right? So we got some workarounds to try to accomplish that. And somewhere around end of August, after the summer session is over for the church, the doors will be open at 9 o'clock. So I'll serve that. So yeah, we're having our challenges.
Sounds like a solution that'll work.
Yeah, well, we're working on that to make sure that happens. And I want to thank our volunteers who posted themselves at each door this morning to try to let people in because we thought the south door. Plus, in the announcement that we send out, and that sends out, we're trying to give instructions on, the north door. And for those of you who don't know north from south, we're across from McDonald's. But some people work it that way. Yeah. Okay. Right, the north side is the McDonald's side. It's like you're heading to Oklahoma. That's north. You know which way that is, right? I have a close friend that she doesn't understand anything about northeast, south, west. So lunch report today, just a reminder. Come to Country Burger. Be glad to have you there. They've got some good food. It's right down the road. I want to give you some information. Those of you who haven't seen this before. The first thing I tell a job seeker when they say I'm new to job seeking, I said, do you know about careerdfw.org? It's the link to multiple resources and information for job seekers. Jeff Morris put this together. He also has a careerusa.org, and it has a lot of information in that. But anyway, if you go to careerdfw.org, it'll take you to Career USA at times for information, resources, and things like that. But there's some good. The first thing I would say that you can do is go to the calendar section. And here is a calendar that shows you all the different groups that are meeting, and it has them color coded for different types. And you can look at that. Now, there's a choice either to look at it in this kind of format, so you can go by the day, you can come down and you see what's happening. You might see that, let's see, well, I don't have it on here, but sometimes they're listed twice, and they're two different colors because they fit two different types of events, and so they might show up that way. But anyway, that's a good way. And you click on one of those, and they'll give you more details, give you who to call, where to meet, etc. LinkedIn, URLs, etc. So it's great to use. There's also something that Jeff's done since COVID came along, and he recorded a lot of presentations like today's. We can't post them now because we don't have the credentials to put them out on Jeff's channel on YouTube. However, there's about 400 videos out there that exist now that was generated over the last three and a half years.
600 hours.
Pardon?
600 hours.
Okay, I don't know how you know that one, but that's
posted.
Okay, yeah. So it's a lot of information. So when you go to that youtube.com/careerusa website, you click on playlists at the top, and you'll get this screen. And so he's gone categorized by topic. So there's two of them on interviewing. And so let me explain that right briefly. One on the top left is a 13 workshop series that Mark McDonald, who used to lead the PIT crew, and I put together during COVID. So we have 13 steps for interviewing. 12 is just simply not enough. At the bottom right is a larger inventory, and that has guest speakers, other people talking about interviewing other than Mark and myself. So you can go look at topics there, and it also will include some of those 13 videos. And those 13 sessions talk about individual aspects. So we got, 14, 15 hours worth of stuff by topic. Okay, and at the bottom, I want to point out you want to view the playlist. So don't click on the icon of the picture, because you'll start getting the video and I'll start going through and playing all of them in a row. What would you do is click on the full playlist, and then you can see the topics for that particular one. Okay. And that's what it looks like. Then you can scroll through that and say, here's the one that I'm interested in. So what's coming up? Just to make note that LinkedIn, Patty Bash is not with us this morning. And you know why? She got an interview. So we don't know if she got the job, but she's interviewing this morning. So she has a great reason for not being participating. But anyway, so next Tuesday is canceled, and we'll go in to the following Tuesday, and Locke is going to be the speaker there. Locke has multiple topics and multiple information and great stuff about job search to share. Right. Wednesdays, the practice interview team is the fourth. Is it the fourth Wednesday now? The fourth Wednesday is coming up, and so that will be online. You can go to the calendar. You can look at 1 o'clock on Wednesday, and you can get the information how to get online with that. So you can get to observe an online interview, and it also helps for people that are out of the DFW area. Because once we got online, I mean, my workshop was actually international because I had a participant from Spain. All right, so now I'm the International Success Workshop. So anyway, it allows that, and also allows you to observe as well for people that are out of town. We like to do it in person because when you get to observe an interview, you get to learn. And I heartily recommend. So the practice interview team is your formal panel interview. The interview success workshop is your informal learning how to sell interview. All right. So that's that. And then what are we going to do next Friday? Well, Thursdays are postponed. We don't have a volunteer to do that, but I'm going to add some of those topics into the Friday group now. Okay, so we'll have some of those. And Locke is sort of an example of handling all of it. He handled networking and he handled resumes. He did a lot more than that today. All right. And then what's coming up for the Friday group? Next week, the session is going to be by Rick Martinez, and he's got 21 tips to help us for an effective job search, right? I was thinking about writing a book on job search. It's 432 chapters, 12,000 pages, with an appendices of 14,000 more pages. So that was how you can do it. But anyway, we'll talk about that with Rick. He's spoken here before. We're going to take a day off on Friday after the 4th of July. So we're not going to meet on the 5th. And then we'll be back with PJ Dunn. If you know PJ, he's spoken here before. Tremendous person with great knowledge about various things. He's a great coach. He coaches executives, life as well as job search and all that. So you want to listen to PJ. He's also very familiar with Strengths Finder. Okay, so we'll have that. That's what's coming up. Anything else going on? Because that's it for today. Thank you so much for joining us, for participating. We'd like to have you in person. Come back and see us. Have a great one. Thank you all.